good evening everyone and welcome. Thank you so much for all coming tonight. It's going to be an absolutely fascinating discussion with these four trailblazing entrepreneurs and founders who are on a mission to create change in the way that we work and live. Because it really feels like at the moment that's what we all need at the moment. We need change. It's a really depressing news cycle and you've got to find glimmers of hope and positivity wherever you can. And really celebrate the people who are trying to do something different and grab hold of that and help it along the way. And so we've all kind of grown up in this age of materialism and a really fixed corporate way of working, and it's had really serious knock-on effects on the way that we work and live. But there are people who do want to change that, these four included. And it's about reimagining a new way of living and working and creating time and space for self-discovery and a search for purpose, because ultimately that's what we all crave. So these four amazing women tonight are leading the way by showing how being kinder to the planet and each other, whether that's within your business or your consumers or just everyone really, has huge knock-on effects. And kindness can actually be deeply rebellious, and that's something we want to explore tonight. And we also want your help in pushing this message further out into the world. So let me start tonight by introducing these four amazing women who are in totally different sectors, marketplaces. They're very different, but as I said, there's just this one key thing that's uniting them. Actually, there's lots of Venn diagrams that we're going to explore. I'm going to start on the end with Gillian, who is the founder and CEO of Peachaus, and it's an ethical underwear and clothing brand, but really it's much more than that, and we'll get into that, because Gillian sees her brand and her platform as a place for change and connection, and it's incredibly interesting what she's achieved. And look what she's wearing.
Yes.
So her background is a 25-year career in fashion, including places at M&S and as the fashion director of Topshop. So she's seen and heard everything, and we are going to get some insights tonight. They're going to be incredibly valuable.
Is it Chatham House rules?
Exactly. And then in the middle, in the lovely pink dress, we've got Stephanie Drax, who's the founder of the supplement company Leapfrog. And she's also a health, lifestyle and travel journalist. And it was while she was writing an article about how to prevent cold and flus in the winter that she came across this miraculous molecule, which is called lactoferrin, and it derives from milk, and it's got a huge amount of clinical research behind it, but we don't know that much about it, and Stephanie's trying to change that. And she will explain a lot more, because I feel like we all need to know about it right now, because everybody's getting really sick. Next to me we've got the incredibly inspiring Renée Elliott, who founded Planet Organic, which you all know, in 1995, and with it the organic movement, the organic supermarket movement in the UK. And she sold the business and was off busy doing other ventures. You've got cookbooks, awards, a mentoring, organisation to your name. And then in a dramatic twist, which we'll hear more about, you bought it back in April and you're turning the business around again. You're on the shop floor today. And so all of the things that you do, all of the things in your life seem to be all connected around this idea of thinking of ways to improve the world in different strands, and can't wait to hear more. And then finally, in the incredible collar, we've got Anna Gough, who is a breathwork and cold water immersion coach. And her teachings are so interesting at the moment. Breathwork and cold water is just really coming to the fore at the moment, and I feel we've got a lot to learn. And your teachings show clients how to calm your body and live a more centered life, and in this age of digital overload and everything, I feel that's something we can really benefit from. I personally feel like my brain is working at 3,000 miles an hour and getting nothing done.
Yeah.
And so because it's the end of a busy work day and maybe you're mentally still elsewhere, although everyone's got a glass of champagne in their hands, absolutely not, I wondered, Anna, if you could maybe lead us through a quick session just to start us off and ground us.
So we don't have music, but we don't need music. Let's just get centred. We'll just do a very quick few minutes together, just to ground ourselves down. Close down your eyes. Just have your palms on your lap or just down by your sides. Just creating some connection within. By closing our eyes, we see things more clearly. We close off the external distractions that we are constantly grasping. Just slow down your breath, just using the nose. Imagine you have an anchor at the bridge of the nose that is your guide to pull your life force down into your belly. Expanding the belly, wide open. Loosening the shoulders, just see where they are at the moment, because even when we're not aware, the shoulders can feel so up around our ears. Let them go. And just follow your breath with the anchor down into the belly. And especially if we've been under a lot of stress, or if we're holding on to emotion, it can feel as though the breath is sort of staggered as it moves into the body. So if you can feel that, use the anchor to guide your breath into those edges, to explore your own boundaries, and to create some spaciousness. Exploring your own landscape, your own home, your body, your flesh, your bone. Just landing in this space, closing off your day, just becoming completely present, just in this moment. All we have is this moment. Slowing the breath down, arriving in your body, allowing our busy minds to rest, just settling, just imagining all the cells in your body just beginning to land like pieces of sand into your own landscape. Let's finish with 5 long inhales through the nose, and then we're going to sigh out. I call it the sigh of grace, out through the mouth. So let's breathe in through the nose and sigh out, let go. In. Really feel that release with the exhale. Breathe in. Let go. Last one. Let go. And just when you're ready, just open your eyes and come back into this space.
Wow.
Thank you.
The energy has changed so much. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Amazing. So, just re-energise myself a bit.
We don't have to we're all
as you're getting a glimpse, they're very different people in different marketplaces, tied together by these core beliefs. But to do what they have to do, there's quite a lot of disrupting the status quo and fighting battles. I think probably mostly Renée, from the sounds of it, but we're going to hear about all of your battles. And so I want to start on the topic of being a disruptor. So Renée, back in 1995, you founded Planet Organic, and organic food was in its infancy. What motivated you to found it, and what was the reception like in the UK? It was the era of turkey twizzlers, wasn't it?
Well, you've done your research. So why did I do it? Well, I'm American. Apologize for that.
It's okay, I'm half American at school.
And I'd come here to date a guy I'd met on a night bus. I said, I'll come for 2 years and we can date and see what happens. And I didn't know what I wanted to be. So when I landed on the idea of Planet Organic, it was because I'd been back to America and done a 6-month program in personal development, which is critical, and I know a lot of y'all are interested in, critical to my transforming myself as a human, with glimpses that had started when I was younger about there's more in the world, there's more than meets the eye, anything is possible. It gave me the confidence to do that. But I'd seen an organic supermarket there as well, and I thought, oh, I love this. It's alternative, it's people searching for more, it's what I call seekers, and they're on a different path. So I decided to bring that to the UK because when I started my first job in England, which was September 1st, 1986, I sat down and I thought, oh my God, did no one tell me this? That these weeks and months and years and decades are stretching out ahead of me, and I have to work for the rest of my life. And if I don't love it, I will surely die in 5 years. So I thought, I'm such a passionate person, I have to love what I do. So I realized from a spiritual perspective, I wanted to do a good thing. I wanted to make a difference in the world, and I wanted a life of service. I thought, I'm here to, as you said, purpose. There's some purpose I have. And this kind of organic supermarket idea had revealed itself to me because, not that I wanted to be a retailer, my husband's like, you're gonna be a retailer? That wasn't my childhood dream. But it was a vehicle for promoting health in the community and supporting the Earth's biodiversity, which are the two things that really motivate me. So I thought, I can do this. But it was, we opened on November 4th, we were 28 years old, and it was a complete disaster because no one knew what we were doing, no one knew what we were about, and I had decided not to advertise because I knew Anita Roddick and I'd read her book, Body and Soul, and she didn't advertise, and I thought, yeah, I'm not gonna do that. But people didn't know what we were about, so November was terrible, December was disastrous. And then we hired a PR company because I thought we have a great story to tell. It's about raising awareness about conventional farming systems and about health and leading people on a different path. And then, so they started in January, and then in February it was the first BSE scare. And that put us on the map because people suddenly thought, what? And I'm a vegetarian, so, but we had a full service organic meat counter. But it was this passion to make a change and provide better. I'm on this path of better everything, better anything.
Yeah. And how was it, so yeah, that was how it was received, that you were welcomed by the people who were interested in suddenly improving their health and knowing where the provenance of their food.
Yes, and it started with the BSE scare, and then later that year was the eggs, the salmonella scare with the doing a Korean office, and then the turkey twizzler thing came up. And we're like, we don't have to pull anything off our shelves, we're not embarrassed. Because integrity was the cornerstone on which I founded Planet Organic.
But that's nice that consumers were finding you organically, actually.
I know.
Yeah.
And at first it was the hippies, you know, it was
Yeah.
the low-hanging fruit, it was hippies and vegans and all those special diet people. But the store was very deliberately upmarket and beautiful to make it mainstream. So I was trying to bring organic into the mainstream. But it was strange because you'd walk in and it would feel like a private club. And I didn't want that, but you'd walk in, you wouldn't recognize any brands. So it was quite a journey to get beyond that.
Yeah. Now, Gillian, you were in the fashion industry, well, you still are, but what should we call it? The other fashion industry for 25 years. And what was the turning point for you? What made you think, I can't do this anymore?
Yeah, I've been in that industry for a long time, and I've always wanted to be in that industry from a very young age, and I've worked my way up and my way through, and I guess for me the last few years I found very, very challenging. So I was working in the UK running Marks and Spencer's underwear, which is how I met Tonya. I launched their beauty, and then I was headhunted to go and work in Australia, which we thought, what a great opportunity, young kids, let's do that. So I went there for 4 years, and it was really, I guess, during that time that I started to question the industry that I was in. I personally was starting to experience burnout in a very stressful culture, quite toxic, very driven by profit at any cost to people and planet, driving the gross bought-in margin, therefore being pushed to go to cheaper sources where the suppliers weren't necessarily credible or accredited, and sourcing using definitely not ethical, treating people the right way. And all of this started to think, well, what is this all about? This was the career that I really always wanted to do, and I found myself totally stressed out. I was working ridiculous hours. I started to display to myself really weird behaviours, waking up at 1 a.m. just to email people, and I realised that actually that I wasn't happy, and I left that particular job, and I then took another job, and I studied, the same thing was happening to me. And I realised that I needed to change my life. This was not a life. It was like it wasn't a life I wanted to lead, and I wasn't proud of what I was doing anymore. So I read a book actually about how you plant seeds to change your life, and it was all about planting little seeds, and I was determined that I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I just knew, because I had this big job and big salary and huge amounts of responsibilities, and I just needed to do it. So that's what I did. I started planting seeds, and I imagined I was going to have this brand which was going to be kind to people and planet, that was going to connect people, that was going to do clothing respectfully in the right way, and give back to people and planet. And so that was all around 2016, 2017. I didn't launch this brand, but I came up with the concept, and when I came back to the UK in 2018, I then did something which was the absolute pinnacle of kicking me up the arse to make sure I launched this brand. I went to work for Topshop as their fashion director, and I'm not even going to say anymore, it was very challenging, and COVID hit, and we did as a business, some very, very difficult things. All I can say is that I was very respectful and made sure that I treated everyone as best I could through that difficult time. But I was in the background working to get my brand up and running, and so I was literally setting myself intentions every week. I was getting my pitch deck sorted. I had to have this glimmer of hope, because otherwise there was nothing from, I was just like desperate in this industry which was just really cruel. So I was very lucky during that year. I worked tirelessly to get this brand deck done. I met an investor, and then when Topshop was sold to ASOS, I was manifesting like crazy. I was going to get a redundancy package, and I did. And then my investor, my business partner Cedric, said he wanted to invest in this brand because he wanted to put people and planet first, and that was it. So it's a difficult industry, it's very difficult, and it needs to change. And I realised that 25 years I've been creating the problem, and I need to be part of creating the solution.
And you say that the brand is a platform for connection. How are you inspiring that?
Yeah, so the first thing about the brand is it's a sustainable brand. That's some of our products. It's underwear, sleepwear, loungewear. We've sourced from gold standard factories who pay their workers really well. They pioneering sustainable practices. We're using recycled yarns. We've been able to start off our brand in the right way. I can't remember your question there.
The connections that you form,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that is also important,
Yeah.
that the consumer knows the connection to the maker and the environment and the materials.
It is, but actually for me, I've had to go on a journey of healing and recovery, because I really was burnt out, and I realised that actually the life that I was living, which I thought was what I wanted to do and what I judged success by, was so far away from the person I am and my purpose. And I actually had to do a lot of unpicking with myself to find out who I was. And I now feel that actually through a platform like a beautiful brand which is doing things the right way, I can help other people, because this comes back to ancient wisdom. I feel that we've been living a life of lives of fear, and taking us away from who we are and who we're meant to be spiritually and connected and centered wise. And for me, I want to be able to use this as a platform to connect people, to ignite the power of who they really truly are, because I've discovered that with myself. And I think I can do that through a brand and through creating a place where people can share and discover and be a safe place. So when I speak to people now, they want comfort and safety, because it's such, you said that before, it's a really scary world. But energetically, I firmly believe if we start vibrating on a higher level where we're living our truth, then that will change the outcome. Very spiritual.
Yeah. Oh, it sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Your intentions. I mean, I love the practical tips you gave there to your journey.
Yeah.
Now, Stephanie, your supplement would massively disrupt the whole cold and flu segment, but I feel like we need to know what it is. So start us off briefly with what lactoferrin is.
So how I came about it was, I'm a journalist, as you said, sort of travel and lifestyle, and I was up writing an article on gut health, and I was writing an article on how to stop kids' coughs and colds. I had 2 small boys at the time who were constantly doing this. Coming home from nursery, it was a mess, and we were catching everything. And I wanted to write this article to help other sort of hand-wringing mums at the school gates and see what I could, what sort of remedies there were out there that would work. And I ended up doing my research, speaking to lots of people, and a scientist spoke to me and he said, you just want to try lactoferrin. I haven't had a cold in 30 years. And I remember scratching down this word and thinking, I've not heard of this. This is unusual. And he said, it's extraordinary stuff, I'll send you a sample. And this bag of very pale pink powder arrived at home, and my husband was like, well, what's that? And I try a lot of things, so he's used to sort of strange packages arriving and trying collagen and things like that. And so I said, apparently it cures a cold. He went, okay, I'll give it a try. And it was amazing. I mean, it just gave it to the kids. We would take it at the very first sign, and very often the very next day, go to bed early, it was gone. It was vanished. And it was so extraordinary that after 6 months, my husband was like, when are we going to get more? It came in a bag from the manufacturers, I don't know. And it turns out, there are very few places to get it. And I decided to do something brave and get together a team of experts, including my mentor, Renée, who mentored me through the whole process, and bring this to market. But what it is a protein that exists inside your body already. It's in your eyes, nose, mouth, and it exists there to kill viruses, to kill bacteria. It's antiviral, antibacterial, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, immune modulating. It's an absolute powerhouse of a protein. It's magic. And we produce it every day. But it's also the key ingredient of colostrum and mother's milk. And I had breastfed a baby, 2 babies, quite recently when I first tried it, so it made absolute sense to me, because I remembered that they were like completely bulletproof. They were wrapped in this sort of invisible, magical cloak of immunity while I was breastfeeding them, and then as soon as I stopped, they got everything. And so when the scientist said to me, it's the key ingredient, he said it's the first violinist of mother's milk and colostrum. And that immediately made sense to me. And it's only been technologically possible in the last 35 years to extract this one protein out of milk. Now ours comes from grass-fed cow's milk, and cow's milk and human milk are very similar. They're doing the same thing. They are there to promote the immunity of the baby. So we extract it from cow's milk into this very fine powder that I tried, and we put it into a chewable tablet with zinc and vitamin C, and the rest is history. I'm sort of 2 years in now. We launched in possibly the worst year to bring out an immune support supplement, which was 2020. And it was funny because it was a time where, people were interested in immunity, but there was so much stuff out there. Everybody was shouting from the rooftops, and I had a small voice saying, but no, this actually really stops. I mean, I'm not going to stand here and say that it's a cure for COVID. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying what it does is it stops viruses from getting into healthy cells, and it can kill bacteria outright. And this is Mother Nature. It's Mother Nature at work. So I was curious. I'm a journalist. I was curious. It worked for my family. It worked for all the people who then bravely tried the product. So when I came to Renée, I said, I've got this crazy idea, and I'll never forget one of the first things she said to me in her home when she was kind enough to see me. She said, but what value do you add? Because that's so important to her. What's the value that you're going to give to people? And I just thought of all those hand-wringing mums at the school gates like me going, the kid can go back to school. Nobody needs to get sick or take a day off work. We're all spinning plates. We're all exhausted. Just to have something that's natural, a remedy that you can rely on to keep you well. So I said, I want to help people.
It's such an interesting time at the moment because we've just had that FDA advisory panel saying that, what is it, the
Phenylephrine.
that's it, which is in Sudafed, is completely useless for clearing up congestion. And that's, I mean, and that's what we all reach for, isn't it?
It's in so many products.
Yeah.
So, you know, the big pharma companies, they can say this cures a cold because they put a lot of money behind it. And so there are these products with very long words like phenylephrine, and it took me a long time to work out how to say that. It's a decongestant, and it's in a lot of, I won't mention names, but all the brands that we know. And the FDA ruled a couple of months ago. Yeah. A lot of the FDA ruled a couple of months ago that it's completely useless, that it is that has no more effect than placebo. And so actually already pharmacies across the states have removed them off the shelf. So there's this photo in the New York Times of like empty cold and flu section in the pharmacy. And you know, there I am
for Leapfrog.
standing on my soapbox going, maybe try this.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have a long scientific word. It's not licensed by a big pharma company. It's Mother Nature.
But it does have a huge amount of clinical trials. I mean, on your website, you really carefully list them, link them. It's
There are a lot of people who are passionate about it, and in fact last week I was at a 5-day conference in Rome where all the scientists from around the world came together to present their latest research on lactoferrin's effects against, you know, all kinds of diseases and infections, everything from anemia to, yes, of course, immunity, I mean, cystitis, cancer, all these things, and they all stood up and one after another gave a presentation. So there are a lot of passionate scientists, but it's a natural product, so you know it can't be licensed. So
yeah. But similarly, Anna, breathwork is also being kind of studied in terms of immunity. I mean, it kind of seems to be the answer for everything if you delve into research.
I mean, it's something that I think is only just coming into the forefront now, that people are actually listening when you talk about it. I know a few years ago I was saying, I've been practicing this breath work, you know, I've really found it beneficial for centering, and people go, what do you mean center? Coming back to me, understanding who I am and listening inward, not outward. You know, again, I'm very spiritual, and had a very interesting path to get where I am. But for me, it's, you know, just hearing Stephanie talk, you know, when we're breathing through our mouths, we are not protecting ourselves. There is no scientific study out there that will give you any persuasion to use your mouth to breathe for any benefit. It's a backup, really, if something awful happened to your nose, to get some oxygen into you. But if we just slow everything down, we're creating partial pressure by just using the nose. So it naturally makes us slow everything down. We've got little micro hairs in our nostrils for a reason. So when I hear of people going off to the barbers and they're getting these lolly sticks shoved up their nose and boom, I'm like, no, leave it there, because that's working as a filter. And it's calming the nervous system, we're cleaning the air, we're humidifying the air, and we're just giving our nervous system just that a little bit more stability. Whereas when I actually assess people breathing, I've been alarmed. Generally, we should be breathing about 6 to 8 rounds a minute. Most people are doing about 18 to 20 rounds a minute, and they're using their mouth. How do you know if you're a mouth breather? Well, you know, do you wake up with a dry mouth? So if you're breathing at night, or if you're sleeping at night and your mouth is open. So this is when I try and persuade people, and I'm going a little bit off piste here, but it's such an easy thing to do to introduce into your sleep, especially if you're a snorer. If we're all really honest, we've all snored, we probably do still now, but I tape up, and we'll talk about this another time. But why is it so important? Because we have a fear center in the brain, or it's not a fear center, but a center of the brain called the amygdala. If we're asleep with our mouth open, while I'm unconscious, my amygdala is firing off that I'm not in a great way. So then we wake up in the morning with a dry mouth, we are waking up in high alert. So it's just begin to become aware of your breath. You know, how is the oxygen, where is it coming into the body? And just really focus. If you're not eating or talking, keep the mouth closed and use the nose. And we also create more nitric oxide, which again is very interlinked with the immune system. It also works as a vasodilator, which means that we're creating a more open vessel for the oxygen to come into, a more relaxed body. for the oxygen to land in too.
And, you know, breathing is something we do every day. I imagine it's quite a disruptive thing for you to say that you were going to train to become a breathwork coach, and that when you tell people, I mean, I imagine there are moments of tension when you tell people.
I think it's just sort of a blank expression. What do you mean you're a breath coach? We're breathing all the time, but how are you breathing? Let me do some simple tests on you.
Yeah.
But also then if you just ask general questions, do you wake up with a dry mouth? Are you feeling really stressed? Do you feel absolutely, excuse my French, knackered in the morning? Do you have brain fog? Are you suffering with anxiety? Do you have gut issues? It's a whole myriad of problems, and it's the one thing, you know, it's part of our autonomic nervous system. So when we go to sleep, we're breathing without having to sort of go, I need to breathe, I'm going to sleep. It's autonomic. But it's the one thing we can adapt. So if I want more energy, I can use with thought and my own, I can go, I want more energy. So I'm gonna do a fiery breath to build up my energy. But as we did at the beginning of the session, very quickly, just settling down, slow everything down, come inward. And I call this is our landscape, this is our home. Not the bricks and mortar, the most important home is our flesh and bone, this. And I think for me it's been the greatest gift for me through the worst of moments is to connect inward and sit and just connect with my breath. It brings me back into me.
Now, Wim Hof has kind of popularised this sort of space, and I wondered, I've heard you described as a female Wim Hof. I wondered if that jarred.
Oh, I've had all the jokes, you know,
And
Anna Hoff, you know.
Oh,
yeah.
But I imagine you bring a much different female energy to it, and how, you know.
It's softer. It's a very male-dominated market that I'm working in, and I treat everyone as an individual. It's not a one-size-fits-all, and I think because of my own explorations with trying to weave my way through my life and challenges, I think it's been the biggest gift for me to be able to hold space for anybody. You know, my husband has watched me work. I work with a lot of other people, and you know, I think one of the greatest compliments were they've seen a lot of people work but not hold the space like I do. And I think that comes from my own challenges and my own learning, you know, and you know, you have to have empathy. It's not an ego show. It's, you have to treat people with gentleness and make them feel safe. And yeah, so I'd say I'm just a little bit softer and treat them, as individuals.
Now, Renée, we're moving on to sort of talking about breaking boundaries and how all of you are doing that in that space. You've done the ultimate recently. You kind of left Planet Organic. You've come back. It was probably fair to say, maybe I can say it, you can't mishandled. How do you feel you are turning it around, and what's the differences? Is it again a female leadership, or?
Yes, it's extraordinary because what people don't know, and I've started to do podcasts about this, is I didn't leave Planet. I was pushed out in 2009 and then again in 2017 completely by my male shareholders who thought they knew better because they came from a corporate background. But what they never really got is that Planet is values-led. I led with my femininity as my strength, which meant I wove values through the business in 3 ways. And I was joking with someone recently, I could have created B Corp because that's what I did 28 years ago. I created Planet on those, what makes sense, what's good business, and I wanted to show that values-led business is good business. It's not about profit, that if you do a good thing, the money comes. So they thought differently. I'm a small town American girl, I don't come from privilege, and they thought we're corporate captains of industry, will do it better. So they took over completely in 2017, and then a year ago, the VC hired a new CEO who had very big visions of what he was going to do with the company, and in a year, he killed it. So it was valued at $35 million in December, and in March, the CEO called me and said, we're giving notice of administration in 2 weeks, and I said, wait, what? What do you mean? So I didn't even know what that meant. He said, I'm letting you know you and your friends and family have lost all their money. So I thought, oh gosh, there goes the pension. And anything for my children. And my goal was not to go back in. I thought, oh my God, I've healed, I've been through a journey, I've moved on. But my goal was to find a buyer, find finance, and raise money and put a team together, because some of the old team had been let go. But over that month, I thought, oh my God, we are the best people to run this business. So we had a little bit of money that we had recently come into. So I led a bid, and then I was able to raise the money really quickly. And we went in without really knowing what had happened, but knowing that the stores are profitable, that the model works, and that we needed to just get back in and sort things out. So it's been a journey of finding out what the hell happened, and then we've been in for 6 months. And what I think happened, because I don't know, but anecdotally people have said, they moved away from organic, they treated the team like shit, they tried to screw the suppliers and the farmers and put the prices up to screw the customers, and to suck it dry of profit and money with greed and what I call dumb decisions. So, and that's what we've uncovered. So we've just gone in, I said to my husband, you can't do this without you. So he's come back in, and we've come in to run the company together. And we've just done everything differently and gone back to the values. Yeah. So it's values around integrity and people and planet and product, which you've heard other people talking about. It's loving the team and bringing them in. It's going back to organic, which is our core, going narrow and deep with that, getting the training going again, bringing prices down on hundreds and nearly 1,000 products because they were up for no reason at all other than greed. Launching the kitchen, getting the kitchens going, launching the website again. I mean, it's been so much work, I can't believe it. Yeah. I had just gone down to 4 days a week, and I thought, oh, this is great. What does a little easier life look like? And someone joked to me and said, Renee, you made space for this to come in and take over. So now I'm 6 days a week, because I still have, as you said, I have a second business, which is mentoring startups and small business and doing transformational development. So I'm like, okay, I've squished that into 2 days a week, and I'm doing Planet. But I love it, but it's wild, and it's a crazy roller coaster. I don't think I've ever worked this hard in my life, but I'm not stressed because when we decided to do this, I said to my husband, I can't get attached, and I'm on like y'all have said, a very spiritual journey. Non-attachment, I'm in surrender, I'm in trust. I trust the universe, I trust myself. I don't know what is supposed to happen, but I'm trusting my gut, and I'm watching the signs from the universe saying, go this way, go that way. This is not a coincidence, do that. So it's exhilarating and it's intense, but I'm not feeling that as stress. And that for me is completely different. I'm trying to teach this to my kids because I wish I knew this 40 years ago. So it's amazing. It just feels like a miracle to me. It feels like the universe said, here, have it back. Yeah. Have it back all cleaned up. Yeah. It's like a fairy tale.
There does seem this lightness when you're talking about it, and Gillian, the same for you, kind of the way that your business, it obviously costs you more to treat people right, but it doesn't personally pays off.
Well,
as well as to everyone else.
I mean, I've just listened to Renée, and I'm just like, Renée, I'm in the same place as you. I'm totally trusting the universe. I've stepped out of fear. I've stepped into belief, into trust, into knowing that I'm on the right journey now, and the signs I get, the people that drop into my life to help me, it's incredible. And I just know my whole everything says I'm on a path to do something amazing and to help lead people into this new era. And it does cost more, coming back to your question, but actually, I had an argument with someone who came onto my stand at the Stylist Live on Sunday. He looked at my pajamas and he said, oh, these are expensive. So our shirts are £65, our pants are £65, and our shorts are £45. So I said, what are you basing that on? I said, basing that on, I'll tell you where these come from. These come from an incredible factory in India that actually is being powered by solar panels. The fabrics are organic, they're kind, they don't, everything we do. And I just said, so if you want to, so I said, if you buy and support us, you're ensuring that people are in good working conditions, they are paid good wages, they're not slave. And so I said, if you want to compare it to other retailers who are still perpetuating really bad fashion decisions, I mean, I hate the word fashion, if I'm really honest, I can't even associate myself with it because it's so wrong. We've built a monster with fashion. So, you know, if you want to buy from other retailers, and I don't need to name who they are, but they continue to make bad decisions. They do not live ethically. They do not live by a set of values, and they are driven by profit and greed. It's all these words Renée used. So I had this man, poor man, was like, oh, okay, can I buy every single piece of that set? So I said, of course you can, and I'll wrap it up to you very nicely, thank you. But we have got to change how we behave. You know, we have created a monster with fast fashion. So, and that is because first it started with the competitive environment that we work in and having to win, having to succeed, and it is driving that profit at any cost, and not because whether it's shareholders or whether it's privately owned and it's lining your own pockets, that's been such a driver. And then discounting to drive that volume even more. Black Friday is like, we don't do it. It's the worst thing ever because the returns, the carbon footprint, the encouraging the overspending, it's just, we've created this monster. And then social media, and actually how that has impacted how people need to look and feel, and they have to have a new dress because they're taking selfies. There is a massive monster that we have got to cut the head off. So I don't have the solution. All I know is I need to be part of that solution somehow.
But then being founders as well, it's business, you know, businesses and entrepreneurship is well known for burnout. I mean, you experienced it in your corporate job as well, but have you, Anna, you kind of help people heal. Have you got practices that protect you? Because you're obviously taking on a lot from other people.
Yeah, I think the penny dropped for me in the summer, just this past summer, because I do festivals as well. So they're pretty hardcore because you are running on adrenaline. It's a constant stream, you know, probably 300 people over a weekend that you're holding the space for. And that includes the breath work, then the ice immersion. And there can be a lot of, it's very emotive. You know, people can have joyous reactions, then other people can really be quite emotional. But to me, you know, and then it's about how you follow up with them. I don't just sort of kick them out, I stay with them and I follow up with them as well afterwards because I have all of their sort of information. So I think for me, I didn't learn because I thought that was great, you know, sort of buzzing from this festival in Wales. And then I came home and I worked in the week in between. And then I went to another festival and did about another 300 people. And I said to my husband, I literally felt that following week that my cells were vibrating. So if any of you ever feel that, where you think there's like an internal shake, and that's why when I do a bit of visualization work with your breath, and you know, I always think of, especially if we're feeling a bit agitated, just really connect with your breath and then imagine your cells just really sinking down into your own earth, you know, and just bringing you back into your own space. So I learned the hard way. I had a bit of a mini burnout, but then now I'm being kinder because we're all very good at giving all the advice, and I'm learning much better now to protect myself and have my time when I'm doing those bigger events to just rest and be at home.
Stephanie, the world of kind of health is so it's got so many messages. It's like fashion. There's just so much social media messaging and so much bad information out there. How are you navigating that with Leapfrog?
Well, I go into journalist mode. I just make sure that I'm super thorough with all the research that I do. You know, I got on a plane last week and I went to talk to the scientists. I was the only non-scientist there. But it's important to me because I want to draw it out of them and I want to bring back the information from the source that I can then give to now not my readers, but my customers. So that's really important to me, to find the truth. And we can't make claims and I have to be careful on social media, but then, you know, it's like a David and Goliath because the Goliaths pay a lot of money to make claims and then get found out those things don't actually work. You know, and we have to be really in the supplement industry, which is a bit like the Wild West, to be honest, but then, you know, it's given me the opportunity to do something that I think, you know, can really help people. And so, yeah, I try to get that message across, but within the confines of, you know, claims and things. So it's really a balancing act. And what I found is the best way forward, and what makes me happiest actually is just talking to the customer. I almost love it when a customer's got a complaint about my package hasn't arrived. Royal Mail, honestly, I could do a whole panel discussion on Royal Mail. But if I have an opportunity to phone somebody, I will. And it's just an absolute joy for me to talk to them, and they will tell me that they've been suffering with symptoms for long COVID for the last year and a half. They will tell me that they've, you know, that they've not been able to sleep since their mother died, and they've just been desperate, looking for something, anything to try. And it is just, it's such a privilege to be able to speak to my customer and connect with my customer. And, you know, I haven't got investors. It's something that we talked about during our mentoring, but I've been scared because at the moment this is all about, it's my decision what I do, and my decision is to spend time talking to people. So I don't know how that compares to everybody else in the supplement industry. I'm finding my own way with wonderful team around me of scientists, nutritionists, immunologists, Renée, you know, of finding my own way and just being authentic and telling the truth and being curious and yeah, just connecting with people, creating a community.
It's amazing. As I said at the start, there's just so many interesting threads that join you together, and I'm really interested in this kind of healing process that so many of you have been on, and finding your own truth and channeling that into a new or an existing business. And it's absolutely fascinating. And we've kind of reached the end of our time all here together, but we are going to have some nibbles, drinks, and everybody's available for a chat. And we thought it would actually be less intimidating if they split up around the room and you went and asked some questions. I'm sure you've got loads, because we've just scratched the surface on everyone's businesses and passions. But I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank the panellists, and let's have a